Hi everyone, it is Friday, July 24th, and this is episode number 11. Sometimes I can't quite believe it, but I honestly never get tired of hearing our intro music. And also, we were supposed to have started nearly 20 minutes ago, but a certain someone was playing a free-to-play card game because they're cheating on Hearthstone because they know I've been working on a Warlock deck. And Nick, you're afraid of Warlock decks, aren't you?
I guess we have to film another episode of me beating you.
We probably will, but I've managed to get a couple of the other cards I was missing for that particular deck. So you might not, be ready to handle that yet.
We'll see. I mean, part of your problem has been that you don't have the cards that I have, so it will definitely be more, I would say, closer.
But the only thing that really bothers me is the two legendary cards I specifically need for that deck. To get the stuff to craft them, I would have to disenchant nearly every legendary that I own, and I'm not quite ready to give up certain cards that I have yet because I really like them. Although you have seen me use this deck as like a practice run thing, and I managed to do something amazing last night. It's actually the most satisfying Hearthstone win I think I've ever had. Um, I believe it was against a warrior, and they were getting pretty close to beating me. Um, but they had down a taunt card, and I played Onyxia and managed, to do some pretty decent damage. And uh, the power overwhelming card. By the way, for those who don't know, I've been working on a Warlock deck. So yeah, no, wait, I mentioned that, didn't I? Anyway,
Yeah, you
power
just.
overwhelming came up. Yeah, power overwhelming came up, and I boosted Nixia from 8-8 to 12-12, and I hit the taunt card, whatever it was he had down, and then I had I just forgot the name of the card, but the one that kills everything next to it and
uh,
absorbs its power.
Void Terror or something. Or
Yeah, Void Terror. That's it. Void Terror. I
I
played
think it's
that.
Void.
I played that, and it was boosted to like 16 and 20 years. I don't remember what it wound up being, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I really feel bad for that person.
Yeah, there's Warlock decks can get pretty crazy. I've seen some really cool things from them. And I can totally sympathize with your pain about the legendaries. Because I really wanna I actually have enough to make a normal Tyrion finally after playing for so long. But I really wanna make it golden if I am gonna bother to craft it because I like shiny cards.
Although, see, I still have not unlocked all of Black Rock Mountain yet. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's actually a pretty challenging thing, even though I know some people say, "Well, it's easy as hell. Why haven't you beaten it?" I, honestly, I don't sit here all day every day and worry. Like I'll look up guides or I'll ask for help. I've even asked Nick for help, but most of it is me playing it for fun. I don't worry about it. Um, but I decided the other day, just to have a chance at getting, some more cards I don't have, I would spend all of the gold I had acquired in the game thus far on buying decks. And I bought like 4 or 5 decks of cards. And believe it or not, I actually got Nas Dorman.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I've gotten him before. Um Actually, my advice to people is if you're trying to get decks in general, I think arenas are a much better option. You really get much more bang for your buck doing arenas. It's a lot more time consuming though, so I it depends on how much time you have available to you.
It actually is better to do arena, but the thing is, uh, the consensus seems to be that if you want to be really, really good at Hearthstone, for example, the OTK Mage deck that we all watched the other day, if you want to do that, you either have to throw actual money at the game or throw money at the game.
Yeah. It takes so long to grind out the arenas and the gold, and I mean, I'm sure there's some really great arena players that just get tons and tons of gold from it and can just buy cards and stuff. But 95% of us can't do that. And even I can't do that. I usually get maybe 4 or 5 wins in arena before I'm knocked out.
it's it's worth doing though. Anyway, before we get off on a tangent about this, I do want to mention that Hearthstone has a new expansion. It was announced yesterday. It will be coming out in what, a week, I think, which is
Really? That
yeah.
fast?
Yes, it's coming out in August. They
Wow.
haven't given a date that I can recall, but it does seem to be quick, really, 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 really quick. And
I'm
the reason I'm saying a week is because August is about a week away, and we don't really know.
I'm wondering, are we going to have to pay for it, or is it just gonna pop in there and we'll have the option to buy the cards and things?
It's going to be free like the rest of them have been, as
Yeah, that's
far as
what
I
I was
know.
thinking.
But yeah, we're gonna be getting that anyway. More on topic for today. Well, actually, our topic for today is everything wrong with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is directly because of something that you said to me, I think, last week. But before we get into this, I want to say that um, this has been in my mind all day today, and I've been thinking, about the MCU. And yes, I'm just gonna say MCU because it's a lot easier. I'm sorry, uh,
Yeah.
but today I've been thinking about it, and I have had the thought in my head all day today that I am going to do to Gotham City what Bane did to it in The Dark Knight Rises, except that none of it will fucking matter because no one really gives a shit anymore. And the truth is, the reason I've had the Bane thought in my head is we had another shooting in a theater yesterday, and it's already being compared to the one a few years ago in which James Holmes killed people going to see The Dark Knight Rises. So that might be why I've had this Batman mindset all day. So, but
It is sadly very similar.
it really is, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge everyone out there who's worried that they're not safe going to the movies. You're safe. Okay, like I mean, you may worry about it, uh, but the likelihood of you being killed by somebody with a gun in a movie theater is substantially lower than you getting into a car wreck or you getting lung cancer from secondhand smoke. I mean, like something's going to get you. Don't worry, but don't worry about it. It's okay. And since we're talking about movies, it's important, that you not be afraid. And there was the idea a few years ago when the Aurora shootings happened. The quote from Batman Begins was thrown up a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. We get knocked down so that we can learn to get back up.
It's just a really, really sad thing hearing about so many shootings. And I think a lot of it's, or a big part of it, is just the national news media coverage. because we hear about things from every part of the country now, constantly, and it's where that might be more isolated, say 20, 30 years ago. It's we see all the bad things happening, and it is really disheartening. But you really got to remember that for the 99% of the time, we're doing pretty good.
We are, but in the weirdest way possible, this actually ties directly into today's topic. Like I said, everything wrong with the MCU. And the title of this episode, episode 11 today, is We Need a Hero. And I really think that moviegoers, particularly those who go to see movies like Thor, The Avengers, Batman, Iron Man, Captain America, everything else, that's what they want. They want to see a hero. And sadly, deep breath, sigh, pause for a moment for dramatic effect. 3, 2. We're not getting it in the MCU. We're not getting our heroes. They have. The initial problem that I have, the absolute initial problem that I have here, and Nick, if you want to agree with me on what I'm going to say, or try and defend it, that's fine. You have no idea what I'm just going to say because Nick and I did not discuss this beforehand. Anyway, the number one problem I have, believe it or not, is Walt motherfucking Disney buying out Marvel.
Now, let's see. Obviously, wait. Obviously, I don't have as much of a problem with the MCU as my friend here does. Now, I do have several. Let me talk for a second. Now, I do have several issues with it, but in general, I think they're doing a very good job with what they have.
No.
Are you going to interrupt me all day?
Yes, I am.
I kind of figured you were. Anyways, but now the buying of Disney is really, really interesting, and it's really, it's still hard to gauge how much Disney's purchase of Marvel is affecting their production and their comics and their movies. It's difficult to say.
Stupid choice. I can say it's not hard. It's not difficult. It's a dumb choice. And the reason it's a dumb choice is because Disney doesn't give a shit. Disney wants to make money. They always want to make money. Now, see, here's the beautiful thing. Stan Lee, when talking to Disney executives, and for some reason I'm imagining Michael Eisner for this. He's talking to Michael Eisner, and I'm just like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to make money. And Stan Lee's like, Excelsior! No, Stan, you failed us. You failed us all. Think back a few years ago to 2008. We had the cornerstone of the MCU, and then we had oh goodness, some of the best superhero movies actually came out that year. Iron Man for Marvel, and The Dark Knight for DC. Currently, the DC universe, because we are not yet at Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice, which, by the way, we're going to have to do at least one more show about at some point in time because there's some amazing things I've read. But anyway, that's currently the go-to is those movies. Now, in Iron Man, you have also, I'm going to try and avoid discussing the DC universe as much as possible because
that's
I've already
mentioned impossible for you. You're just going to constantly compare it.
It is, and for all the faults that I think DC has, like I've already said when we discussed Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice the other day, DC is doing it right. Marvel's fucking up. Marvel sucks at this.
Wait.
Let me say it. No, hang on. Let me get this out. If I don't say this, I'm gonna go insane. Iron Man is. Hang on. for everyone who likes the Avengers, and I love the Avengers movie. I have called it the best superhero movie we've ever gotten multiple times because in a lot of ways it is, but in a lot more ways, Iron Man, Iron Man, the initial one, is what set the bar because what you had was Tony Stark. He's doesn't give a shit about what his company does. He doesn't care. He's killing people left and right, making money off of it, and then you have a complete reversal at the end of the movie where he's realized, oh, I can do a lot better than what I'm doing than providing weapons to people who want to kill people. It's amazing. And in between there, we literally have his heart almost ripped out of his body and he's tied to a generator. If it shuts off, Tony Stark dies. He builds the Iron Man suit in a cave. It's fantastically done. Tony Stark is shown to be an asshole to everybody around him. Everybody doesn't like him. He's hard to work with. I mean, like, it's Pepper Potts before she gets annoying. He didn't have the 47 Iron Man suits. It's very, very, very well done. And that was the bar that Marvel set. And then after that, it was like they weren't even trying. By the time you get to Thor, oh, hey, there's this beautiful backstory to Thor. He's based in Earth mythology, and then what does he do? Well, he argues with his half brother because his brother has got daddy issues. And see, here's the initial thing: the initial Thor was very well done, but they dropped something very important. Thor has always interacted with people in the comics. He's always done it. He has had the persona of Donald Blake, a doctor treating humans. His reaction to mankind should not be, well, I am up here. I am better than you. No. And then you have Loki, who just goes off on a fucking tangent, and no one knows what he's up to. Okay, for example, in the initial Thor movie, Loki shows up. He's kind of a dick to his brother, but you get the idea, that he's got some sort of plan going on. And then, oh, look, he shows up in the Avengers, and what the fuck is he doing?
Well,
He's
this
leading.
one.
Hang on. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. He's leading an army of aliens to invade New York, and then it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any damn sense because the very next time you see him, he's back to being best buddies with his brother. He's back to being I'm some kind of a trickster, and I'm definitely a dick to my brother. But you know what? We're cool. We get along. It doesn't make any damn sense. Marvel has specifically, for some unknown reason, made their characters dumb as shit and unbelievable, and I can't stand it.
Are you done there? Alright. On the point of Loki, now, I agree the 4 movies are not that great. They're definitely one of... And I like the character Thor. I like him in the Avengers movies a lot more than I like him in his personal movies. But in regards to Loki, a lot of people think that he was supposed to get captured from the first movie. That him leading the invasion was actually supposed to get him captured. So he could steal...
In the first movie, he falls to his fucking death, and then you see him show back up again, and he's all okay.
Yeah, but because supposedly Thanos finds him, he's working for Thanos, or maybe trying to trick Thanos. Loki does what he wants, basically. But anyway, so apparently a lot of people think there's this kind of grand scheme where Loki is supposed to get captured. He steals one of the jewels, the Tesseract, and something else. And he's helping Thanos get the gems, basically.
But see, here's another problem I have. There's a whole entirely different problem that I have. What the fuck is up with the Tesseract? It is supposed. It's an object that belonged to basically gods. I mean, the Nazis were able to find it, and then Red Skull is just kind of an asshole in one movie, and I mean, no. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with the treatment of Red Skull. Um, I've actually never read a whole bunch of Captain America comics, even though he's been one of my favorite superheroes for a long, long time. Even I know Red Skull is pretty much his primary enemy. And then
Yeah.
Red Skull was in one movie, and you get him making these jokes about stuff, and what was wrong with this movie? I mean, come on now. It doesn't make any damn sense. It really doesn't. He, oh. And then there's the entire fact that another reason that uh, Steve Rogers goes to war. I almost hate to bring this up, but it's very, very important. One of the main reasons Steve Rogers goes to war is not to help recover some artifact. Okay, that wound up coming up later. One of the primary reasons for Captain America was because the writers of the comics were Jews, and they wanted to get the Holocaust into America's minds, and that was actually the primary motivating factor for Captain America going and fighting the Nazis. That was it. That storyline is completely dropped. You get no reference of it at all. Period. It's gone. Not even mentioned. Okay, and that's a very important thing. It like you have it, and to do that completely negates the idea of what the Nazis were doing, and why it is so important that Red Skull shows up as a Nazi. Why it is he's looking for this particular artifact that he's looking for, and then you have this vague reference to the Fuhrer likes stories like that, but you know why he does? You know why he does? It's because he thinks all this Nordic shit is real. Lo and behold, it is. Thor shows up. Oh, you get a few little hints at that, but it's like they're completely ignoring that one super, super important aspect to it. Now, granted, that's reality versus comic books, versus movies, but but without acknowledging that reason right there, you just completely undermine the entire purpose of the movie. Captain America needs to be there because the Nazis are doing bad shit. But what are they doing? They're just kind of mean people over there. It doesn't matter. No, instead he raises bonds and he's laughed at as a joke, and then he goes over there, and then the entire movie focuses on the action sequence of him fighting Red Skull and Red Skull being a superpowered jackass to people, and that's where you leave off. And the Tesseract, disappears for a while, and then it shows up again in Thor. And what does it do there? Oh, it's just a very slight plot device that's used to make Nick Fury look like a badass. And then the Tesseract goes away, and the only thing I have to say about the Tesseract is it was somehow easier to find that than it was to find the plane that Steve Rogers was in at the bottom of the ocean. They managed to find the Tesseract, which is like 6 inches square at the bottom of the ocean, but they couldn't find the plane that Captain America crashed in. What the hell is wrong with that scenario?
All right. That yeah, I mean, Captain America's first movie, is definitely not the exact story plot from the original Captain America's. But I now it does change the tone of things. It does, and I think what they were trying to do really is they were trying to move away from such a dark story. Honestly, I mean,
What? Okay,
and maybe this does have to do with the purchase of Disney, and in that Disney doesn't want to create a super dark universe.
but
They
see,
want.
here's the thing. It has to be dark. It has to be. Now, granted, when someone hears the word Nazi, they think, "Oh, Holocaust." Like the average person, will make that connection. But in the movie, it's not even mentioned. It's not even brought up at all, and that has to be a conscious choice. I mean, every other time you see the Nazis mentioned,
Well,
every other time,
we've done
every
that.
other time you see them mentioned, what they're doing is brought up. But in this, no. Like you just get these kind of backhanded reasonings that the Nazis are bad people thrown in there, and then Hitler likes to collect old stuff from dead religions. Like that's just tossed in there. But there's an
Well,
actual reason why. There's a real
but
reason why
honestly,
Hitler wants it.
we've done that with other countries though too. Like Japan, for instance. Japan did equally as bad things as the Holocaust to China and Korea, but we never talk about it. We really don't. Um, if you watch any, even more historical movies about Japan fighting Japan, we never talk about the atrocities they committed during World War II. Um,
Because here's the reason. There's an actual reason for this. We did not get involved with Japan in World War II because of stuff like Nanking. We didn't get involved with them because of that. We were aware of it. No one gave a shit because Japan was leaving us alone. All of a sudden, we're pulled into the war with Adolf Hitler because the Jews came over here and told us what was going on. We had to stop Hitler. What got us involved with Japan was they bombed us. That's like that right there is the stepping stone for the United States whipping the shit out of the Empire of Japan. For doing it to Hitler, it's the fact, oh, hey, he's presenting an actual danger. He's
well, no, we didn't. We didn't start the
possibly
war
going
with
to
Hitler,
take over the
but
world.
we didn't
He's
start with the war with
exterminating
Hitler.
millions of people.
But we
And
didn't
while he's
start the.
exterminating
Hey,
people, and
hey,
and while he's exterminating people, he is taking pieces of art and trying to prove that these, ancient gods of the Nordic people are real. Lo and behold, they fucking show up. They show up in Marvel. That would have been beautiful. That would have tied Captain America to Thor. That would have been perfect. Instead, that's entirely dropped. You have no real reason for Captain America going to war. You have no real reason to even mention the Nazis at all. Instead, it becomes about the formation of Hydra and how Hydra takes everything over. And that leads, just a few movies later into what we're getting soon, the Marvel Civil War. And they've kind of fucked that up too. I mean, you have this important basis. You need to understand that Hydra is evil. They've infiltrated the Nazis. They've infiltrated SHIELD. They control the world government. But here's how they managed to do it. It's because they exterminated 12 million people.
and this is actually the point I wanted to make. Um, Marvel's comics, their series, their movies are more about modern events than anything else. Um, right now, the modern events
You
that
mean like post 9/11 stuff, where you have Tony Stark, throw a nuclear missile at the Starry Fleet, and he falls back. It's like, oh no, I'm having problems. I'm not adjusting to society. Now don't get me wrong. Being hurled through a wormhole and probably never getting to come back is probably a very traumatic thing. I don't know, but you know what? There's no way I can test that because kind of hard to find a wormhole to do that. What I can test is the fact that an Iron Man, like I mentioned earlier, the cornerstone for the MCU, and what sets up Tony Stark as a character, he is captured, he is tortured, he is beaten, he is abused, he is a broken man, and it changes his perspective on life. It's why he became Iron Man. Being tortured and mistreated is what made him who he is. And then you have him, oh, well, I just saved the entire world. I just have problems adapting. Like he, he really gets PTSD from saving humanity as a whole, whereas him being mistreated and nearly killed does nothing for him but makes him want a cheeseburger. Really, what Marvel should have done is, not shoehorned in there the idea that the Mandarin is not really what he is in the comics, because the comic books he is far more dangerous. Instead, what you get, he is a puppet of a guy who breathes fire, and for some reason, oh my God, they even messed up Iron Man. Now here's the
Iron
thing:
Man 2 is a terrible movie. It is a
Iron
terrible,
Man
terrible
2 and Iron Man 3 are horrible. I'm sorry, they're horrible. Like I enjoy watching them, but that's because I have to completely disconnect myself from the movies and say Iron Man 1 is standalone. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It sets up the future for everything. And in Iron Man 1, you see him taking on, you know, all these criminals flying around the world, bringing justice to people and everywhere and stuff like that. And then in Iron Man 3, he can't even protect his own home. He really he loses his home and Pepper and goes flying across Tennessee and everything and has to rebuild his piece of shit tinfoil suit now. Because, by the way, if you haven't noticed, that seems to be what Tony Stark is doing. He's building his suits cheaply as possible, and I can prove that by showing you the end of Iron Man 3, where he summons in the quote unquote army, and they're all flying around, and just like one fireball fucks them up. Really, Tony? The initial one was indestructible as hell. You could get hit by missiles and fire and rocks and bullets and whatever, and you were not going to be touched. You weren't Iron Man. You're ironclad. You're Iron Man. You're indestructible. And then the last one, oh, you fall from the sky at like 120 miles per hour, and it completely destroys your suit. No, Marvel. No, you can't have that same thing happen.
I'll put it like this. Of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of the ones that Marvel has controlled so far, Iron Man was an excellent movie, but the follow-ups obviously have not been nearly as good. The original four I thought was okay. It's not among my favorites, and the second four really didn't do much to bring it up to par. Uh,
Neither. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I really don't. I'm not a big fan of either of the four movies. Even though I absolutely love him in the Avengers movies, in his own
Okay.
personal movies, I have problems with him.
In the Avengers, Thor is fantastic. I love the way he's presented in there, even though he's okay. He's turned into almost a Shakespearean archetype, especially the way he talks. But if you remove him from other characters that he can interact with, he's an
Yeah,
asshole. I
he
can't stand him. I
well,
don't
I
like.
don't think he's an asshole. I just think he's a weak character, or he needs stronger characters around him. He's
No,
not a good
no, he's an
character to
asshole.
watch on his own.
Complete asshole. I don't like Thor as standalone. I really, honestly, genuinely do not. Now, the first time I watched The Dark World, I actually fell asleep. I was excited to watch it. I wanted to watch it, and I slept through at least a quarter of the movie because it was boring as shit. The dialogue is horribly done, and that's not saying anything about Kat Dennings' performance. I love her in this. She's beautiful in this. I love her performance, but no. Instead, you get I am Thor. I am here to save you. Blah blah blah. No, in the Avengers, what you get is it's quick, it's fast paced. Loki, Loki's a better character in the
Loki
Avengers
is
movie than he is in the Thor movies. In the Thor
actually
movie,
I like Loki in the four movies. He's the one thing that really kept my interest during the movies. Honestly,
that's it. Him being in there is him being in the Thor movies is the best thing. Really, that's the only reason to watch them. And that's because Tom Huddleston is amazing. He
He
fits
is.
that role. He actually makes me like Loki. And I like it. But, like, for example, in the Dark World, there's this whole sequence of events, where they're going to. I can't even be bothered to remember the villains in this movie's name. I'm sorry. Or what
It,
it was they were after because I don't give a shit. Okay? There's this whole sequence of events where Loki is going to turn Thor in, and blah 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 blah. He cuts off Thor's hand. You find out they're working together. It's actually a an illusion. That's cool as shit. I like that they did that, and I like how they had Loki trying to betray him in the first movie. That was cool. I like it. I can get with that. But you know what I like Loki better as? I like him as, be like, this whole time I'm being nice to my brother, I'm secretly contacting this asshole over here, in space, and I'm going to bring his army here. I like that. That actually works for me. Now, you're never ever given the explanation of why Loki does it, but it doesn't matter. He makes for a really good villain. And in the end of it, you find out, oh, we're just going to lock him back up because he's Loki. And that's okay. He's Loki. What are you going to do? You're going to kill him? It's not like he's General Zod.
yeah, and I mean, they are brothers, and Loki, the queen loves Loki, so I mean, think it's understandable why they don't. They just put him back in jail. Um, it the thing about the Marvel universe is it's very imperfect, and one of the reasons that I think it's so imperfect is because um this was the first time that really anyone has tried to do this in a movie sense. Um Marvel's the very first one that I can think of where they've tried to tie in so many characters, so many different things. And just like the first of doing anything, you're going to run into a lot of problems. And there are a lot of things that I could complain about. I think the Hulk needs another movie, honestly. I didn't mind the
No,
last.
no, no. Hang. I'm sorry. I have to stop you. The Hulk's another thing for me. The Hulk doesn't need standalone movies. The Hulk needs to be taken out of the lineup entirely. And here's the reason why.
What?
Believe it or not, I have a reason, and I like the Incredible Hulk. Um,
What?
you heard me.
You're
You
going
heard
to
me.
take the Hulk out of the Avengers and the
Yes, I
Marvel
am.
universe?
Yes, sir, I am. There's a
That's
reason why.
that's the
There's a
craziest
reason
thing I've
why.
ever heard.
No, it's actually not. In the Avengers movie, you're told uh, it's a real quick line. You're told that David Banner, or whatever the hell name they're using in this one, has been off for a couple years now. They're referencing directly the last standalone Hulk movie. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
he's been off in a way, for some time,
yeah. Black
meditating.
Widow goes get him. Black Widow goes
Yeah,
to get him.
yeah, yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. He's been off meditating, learning to control himself, and it's fantastic. Okay. Then all of a sudden, when he's on the helicarrier, some shit happens, and he loses complete control of himself. I mean, he just goes insane, and that's why they have the cage in there. They were going to lock him up and get rid of him. Well, later on, he shows up in New York, and he's back in control of himself. The Chitauri are invaded and are killing everything around them, and he's looking at it like, well, you know, I'm always angry. No, that doesn't work. You can't go from being in control of yourself to being a hell beast.
Well, no, it
That an
was because
extension.
Loki did something to him. Remember? Like, every time the Hulk has gone crazy so far in the movies, it's been because someone tricks him or does some spell on him, or something like that.
But
you
that
can't.
doesn't. But that doesn't work for me. I mean, really, look at him. You establish the fact that he is perfectly in control. I mean, he has himself, and then he has the big guy, and he's in control. You see people trying to provoke him over and especially Tony Stark. Jeez, Tony Stark picks on him, but it's really subtle about it. But excuse me,
Well,
somewhere
they're
along
also
the line,
supposedly good friends. I
they
think,
are. They are. But there is no way it's not getting under his skin. There's no way it's not doing it because you and I have that same dynamic. You and I are really good friends. But I guarantee you there's been some shit that I've said to you and there's some shit you've said to me that's annoyed us. It just happens. It's going to happen. And you have it established that he has spent years learning to be in control of himself. He can switch it on and off. You even see at the end of the movie. Now, what exactly happens between there is he goes insane. He loses control. He attacks his own teammates. He probably does more damage to the helicarrier than anything else does. And then he's dropped out of it, and he's okay, and he's back to normal. No, you can't just turn that shit on and off. I mean,
I would disagree because we're dealing with magic here, and you know how crazy magic can be in any story or anything. It'll affect people, and then it wears off in some places. In other things, it'll affect them, and it'll keep going forever until they
you're
break
dealing
it
with
somehow.
bullshit storytelling is what you're dealing with. You're trying. Honestly,
I
Loki.
would not.
Hang on. Loki seems to be uh, the flavor of the weak villain. Like whatever they need him to do, he just can magically do it, and
eh,
and that doesn't work either. Now, I'm not saying remove Loki because he's what keeps people going. But if you remove the Hulk, you make him say, "Hey, look, no, I need to go work on my anger issues and be better in control of myself so that I
yeah,
don't
but
lose
how
control of
can
them."
you
That's
control
fine.
your?
You can remove the Hulk. There are
eh,
so many other characters being introduced. Um, um,
The
I
Hulk
just
is
forgot his
so
name.
crucial
Black Panther, and then you're
to
going to get
Marvel, though. The Hulk is so crucial to Marvel, though. That's like
he
taking
is, but
away.
you know what? Story wise, you can remove him. It's just fine. I mean, they even purposely added in characters to the Avengers that had no backstory at all. As far as the MCU goes, Hawkeye and Black Widow don't even. They're just there randomly all of a sudden. You could have added in. Now, okay, they could have introduced. Excuse me, Ant-Man to this. Now, I know we're just now getting the Ant-Man, but Michael Douglas actually plays Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. It's important that he shows up at some point in time because he's who built Ultron. And in the age of Ultron, you have Ultron. Instead, you're going to get the standalone movie where he's, some old retired jackass and he wants to get a thief to take on the Ant Man suit, and then you're going to bring in another villain and everything, and that's going to confuse it even more. No, you need that in there. He should have been mentioned. He should have, whether he was in the movie or not directly, he should have been mentioned, but he's not. Instead, oh well, guess what Ultron is? It's a creation of Tony Stark. No, it doesn't work that way. He's a creation of Ant Man. Damn it!
But now
It's
you're
important.
but now you're being more purist than anything, which
I
well,
but it,
no, because you can't be a purist for Marvel and then not be a purist for DC with what they're doing,
I
because
can be. I
we
can be. And
think.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. This goes back to what I said. My initial point is that my problem is that Disney bought Marvel.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with DC not sticking to their script and you being mad at Marvel for not sticking to their script. You can't have that both ways.
Yes, I can. I sure can. Because
There,
my problem comes my problem comes from Disney buying it and Disney's funneling movie into it, money into it, so they can make even more and more money. And in reality, what you have is they have a single director for Disney who is actually doing more than one movie, and that's Joss Whedon. All the rest of them have had one shots, and they have shitty movies when they do that. And what you have is all these decisions are not controlled by the directors of the movies. They're not controlled by the writers of the movies. They're damn sure not controlled by Stan Lee, who created the characters. They're controlled by Walt Disney to make money. They want to put people in seats. And while that's a wonderful business idea, what you have is all these movies now appeal more to the random person who wants to go see them because my favorite movie star is in this movie, and, instead of the people that they actually appeal to. And that's what Christopher Nolan did with Batman. He was amazing at that. The first Iron Man movie, that was amazing. That both of those appealed to the individuals who liked those comics, and they appealed to people who wanted to go see, big names blowing one another up. Instead, now you don't have that anymore. You have big names. They show up for one or two scenes. You introduce all these characters, and it's a clusterfuck, and it doesn't work. It's like Michael Bay's Transformer movie. All
whoa,
that,
whoa, 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 whoa.
don't,
That's a different level of
there
bad.
is no whoa to
You
this.
know for a damn fact that's a different
No,
level of
there
bad.
is,
You are
no,
not gonna no, you are
there
not gonna compare
is.
even the worst of Marvel movies
Yes, I
to
am.
any of the Transformer
Yes,
movie.
I am.
The hell no, you are not.
Yes, I am. In this one respect, I sure am.
Nope,
What you have,
nope,
what you
nope,
have, and
nope,
here's the thing.
nope.
Here's the thing.
I'm not.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
not gonna hear
Here's
it.
the
I'm
thing.
not gonna hear it. I'm not gonna hear it. I'm not gonna hear it.
Here's
I'm
the
not.
thing.
No,
Now,
no. You've
you're
crossed
gonna
the
hear
line.
me say it.
You
You're
have
gonna hear
crossed.
me say it.
You have
There
crossed the
is
line.
no line. There is no line. Last week, you
You.
accused me of hating the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is why. This should have been point number one for me, but instead, it's gonna be my last point. Michael Bay is secretly a genius filmmaker. He gives the audience what they want to see. That's why you have all the racist stereotypes in there. That's why you have all the misogyny. He even threw in that point in Transformers 4 about Texas having a statutory rape thing that allows you to do it as long as you have a pre-existing relationship. But you
That
know
was
what?
the
No
most
one gives a shit about it. He
horrifying.
doesn't hang on. He doesn't put any kind of message in the movie. Instead, what you get is a movie about a cartoon that is more cartoony than the cartoon actually was, and people will go see it. They will vomit money on him and throw money at him because he gives them what they want. Okay? And that's important. That is important. The Transformers represents what everybody who ever played with the kids growing up saw is these giant robots that are fighting. Now you have the stupid human interactions, and that's okay to an extent, but it doesn't matter. People will go see it. Disney is really good at doing stuff like that, but they didn't with Marvel. Instead, what they did is they put these little action sequences in there that are really well done, but then you have these long, boring movies, and it's all supposed to tie together. So that means Disney, because most of this is Disney's doing, rather than any individual or group of individuals at Marvel. What's going to happen now? The reason I say it's all Disney's fault is because Disney owns Marvel. What's going to happen now is you have to watch Thor. You have to watch Thor 2. You have to watch all the Incredible Hulk movies. You have to watch Captain America movies. You have to watch the Avengers movies. You have to watch Ant-Man. You have to watch Agent Carter. You have to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You have to watch everything they put out for it
I
to actually make sense.
I don't
It
know
does
about that.
that
I
way.
mean, I haven't watched that much of Agent Shield. I haven't watched Agent Carter yet. I can still keep up pretty darn well with the movies when I see them.
You
Now,
can,
I don't get all of the little inside connections. I don't see all the little, oh, this comes from that, or that comes from this, or that comes from this. But I I can still pretty much keep up with it.
you can, you can. But see, here's the thing: the reason you have to watch shows like Agent Carter, Agent Shield, is they actually tie all this shit together. They make you go watch all these movies, and then there's these TV shows that you probably don't care to watch, but you're going to have to watch it, and that's because okay, Disney took the road that George Lucas did when making Star Wars figures. Every character, every character gets an action figure. Every character gets a backstory. What you're supposed to get in this grand scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that every character has a backstory. But when they try and do it, it doesn't work. Just like in uh,
Well,
uh,
I know we weren't going to compare to DC that much, but this is my main concern for Suicide Squad. Now that you're saying that, especially because there are so many characters in the Suicide Squad. It does worry me they're going to try to give, even if they try to give just a couple of them backstories in that single movie. I'm really worried it's going to be a problem.
I don't think it will. And the reason I don't think it will is, okay, if you look at Dawn of Justice, it's established Batman's been being Batman for 20 years. Okay, that's you don't have to worry about that. That's why I think the idea of Robin being dead is wonderful. That's thrown in there. You don't necessarily have to see it. I would like to see it, but you don't really have to. The idea of the Suicide Squad is that these people have been showing up more and more and more since Superman showed up. So Superman's been around 2 years, maybe two. Like that's just an estimate, okay? So that means you're going to have people who have shown up because of Batman, and people are showing up because of Superman. That's that's the pre-established story for you right there. You don't have to have these individual backgrounds that tell you why these people are important
But
because you know
we saw several of them. We saw several of them.
from the narrative, the overall story, they're there as a reaction to these people.
But
They're there because of
we
Superman.
saw them
They're there because
establishing
of Batman.
backstories for several characters already.
But
We
see, when you throw Wonder Woman in there, it's apparently been hinted that Wonder Woman has had an interaction with both Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. It's been hinted that she's interacted with both of them to some extent. Okay, but there is a moment that's supposedly on the film where she's looking at one of them. I don't know who it is, but she knows who they are, and who she's looking at knows who she is. Like it's established. You don't need to have this individual backstory. But what Marvel's trying to do is like I said, the George Lucas approach, where they're going to throw in, insert character here, and you want them to have a backstory, but they
well,
give, they give two or three sentences, and it's for characters that don't really matter. Now, the big thing here is you want the ensemble cast, right? Right. Everyone wants to see that because Avengers, as we said, is a far, far better movie than any of the standalone ones except maybe Iron Man. But what you get is, for the ensemble cast, you need to understand why these characters work together in Marvel. In Suicide Squad, you don't. All you need to understand is they're forced to work together. They're made to work together. How they got there isn't really quite as important, okay? Because with the Avengers, you see the formation of this group of people. You see that, and then you see the problems that they have, but they're never really addressed. All those little individual issues that they all have, and they never work together. So with Suicide Squad, like I said, you're shown that they have to work together. All of their problems everything you're going to learn about them post being introduced is going to result from that. And that's why I'm actually okay with not having a movie that establishes Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, Killer Croc, the Enchantress, and so on. I'm fine with it being said that they have shown up as a reaction to Superman. I'm fine with the fact that some of them had to have shown up to the association with Batman. I'm
That,
fine with that. I can
well,
live with that, and
no,
that's
no,
why I think to make a better movie.
well, that's fine. But you know darn well that they're going to try to continue some of those storylines with future stories. And they're going to very much copy what Marvel is doing right now and has done. And we can already see that in their plans. They have a bunch of individual movies planned. Um, they're running their own TV stories. Gotham for one. They're trying to bring in Supergirl, which we've seen. They're going to go down the same road that Marvel is going right now.
But see, like I said last week or whatever it was, we discussed Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice. DC's doing it the right way. They're seeing what works and what does not work with Marvel. Because, like you said, Marvel,
You mean
is
that's
doing it
that
first.
Supergirl theme
Marvel,
song?
Marvel may be doing it first, but DC's doing it better. And if you watched,
You mean
uh,
that Supergirl theme song's working for you?
yes, if you watched my review, or rather, the simple explanation I
Well,
did the other
wait, wait,
day.
wait, wait. But
The other,
that's an unfair comparison to make, though, because um, obviously, when someone copies off of someone, when they have a blueprint laid out for them of what to do, they can look at previous mistakes, things like that. DC has an advantage here because they can look at what Marvel has done. They can look at what's worked. They can look at what hasn't worked. They can make tweaks. Now, that doesn't mean that DC is going to be majorly successful or majorly unsuccessful. We don't know yet because it's an unproven product still, or unproven universe still, at least.
it's
Um,
not there. And I actually kind of touched on this. Also, we're kind of close to an hour, so we're gonna have to cut it short here soon. But anyway, um, I touched on this in my video the other day where I explained the differences in Marvel and DC. DC is the older of the two entities, but what happened was, particularly around the time that Stan Lee started working for Marvel, he looked at what had been established. So he had, plenty of blueprints, and then he built the Marvel universe off of what DC had done.
exactly. And
Comic
now
wise,
it's being
comic.
flipped
Hang
around.
on, hang on. Comic wise, Marvel copied off of DC, and everyone likes Marvel. But the reality is, DC hasn't really changed. Like they have, these storylines, and like I mentioned in that same video, DC storylines are harder hitting because they're better constructed. Marvel is all about, look at us, we're here, we're fantastic, we're amazing. Look at the name, Marvel. To be marveled by something. It's fantastic. It's pretty. It's colorful. What you have with DC, detective comics. Detective as in story. An actual story. You're going to get a story from DC. With Marvel, you're going to get what you want. And that's supposedly what we're getting with the MCU. But story-wise, like I pointed out, there are some major flaws in it. And that doesn't work. There are people like me who go, to see this idea that. And see, the thing is, Disney is really good at constructing stories. They're really good at it, even when they introduce characters that don't matter. For example, uh, the guy from Westleton in Frozen, he doesn't matter. He has absolutely no bearing on the story at all. But yet, I care about him because he's there, because he shows up, he interacts. Okay, like that's a character. And then there's the reference to the other Hans Christian reference, Anderson stories in there. You see Rapunzel walking in, and you're told that Elsa and Anna's parents were killed on a boat wreck. And the other Hans Christian Andersen story that he wrote, that's been made a movie, is Little Mermaid. Just with those little references right there, they tied together three movies that were made over the course of about 20 some odd years. And that's wonderful. Disney can do stuff like that. They're really good at tying it together. Instead, what you have is all these characters that get little to no backstory, but they're never ever going to show up in the ensemble cast. Like I really doubt we're ever going to have uh, Ant-Man show up in an Avengers movie. I don't think we're ever really going to get Spider-Man showing up. But yet,
Oh no, Spider-Man's going to show up.
you see, he's going to show up, but it's going to be a cameo.
No, 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 no,
What
no.
about
Spider-Man will be a major player in the next Avengers movie. I've been telling you that for a long time.
well? See, I'm just using him as an example. We're never going to get the X-Men tied into it. We're
Well,
probably
that's completely different
never
reasons,
going to get
though.
the Guardians of the Galaxy tied into it. We're never
No,
going to get
Guardians of the Galaxy will be tied in. There's a couple of ones that will, I know for a fact, will be tied in. Guardians of the Galaxy will be tied in. Spider-Man will be tied in. The more questionable things are things like the Netflix series heroes like Daredevil and people like that. That I don't know if they will tie in or not, even though Daredevil is very popular right now. But things like X-Men, obviously, they're going to have it's going to be next to impossible unless they work something out with Fox. And that's clearly another problem altogether that Disney has very little control over right now. I it, just to wrap things up a little bit because it is getting late. Um, Marvel obviously has problems. There's no doubt about that. They have movies that I'm not particularly fond of, movies I don't really like. They have some characters, storylines I'm kind of questionable on. However, in general, and for the most part, I really enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I enjoy the MCU. I think it's been refreshing. I think it's been new. And I think it's going to pay dividends, not only for Marvel stories, Marvel movies, but for DC's movies as well. And I really do hope the DC movies take off, they do great. And we have these two uh, great universes to watch, to enjoy, whether it's on TV shows or movies or things like that. For all of their flaws, for everything that we can nitpick at and criticize and things like that, I think in general it's been a very, very good and positive experience.
okay? Okay, got tongue tied for a moment. Uh, this whole time that I've been, openly insulting Marvel and the MCU and everything, I actually do like the movies. I really do, and I'm hoping it's apparent that I actually care about them. Uh, and I'm sure I'll continue to go see them and whatnot. But the thing is that
We just
uh,
care so much, we're really passionate.
it's, like I mentioned, I actually care about the story, and the MCU thus far is not really constructing a story. I'm just getting, you
Well,
know, flashes of,
I'm not sure about that though. I'm not sure. I mean, sure, not all the stories have been as great or as strong as the other stories, but really know the story yet. The way Marvel designed their story, from what I understand and what I've noticed, is they planned for this story to culminate in the third Avengers movies. That's their big, you know, big thing to happen. Like all of these different little threads are supposed to tie into there, and it maybe that was a bit of a too bold or too aggressive of a move. Maybe that was too much to try to do because it's taking so long and we have so many different things coming and mm, that might be the main source of their problem. Um, Especially because they're trying to introduce characters after we've expected them. So their their stories are now different from what we expect and know and love. Um, it's a really interesting thing, but we honestly don't know how much we're going to love or hate it until a few years from now when we finally see that last Avengers movie. We can't really just like I can't really pass judgment on the DC movies, even though I'm very skeptical about Batman versus Superman, and I'm a little worried about the Suicide Squad. I can't really pass judgment on them until I finally get to see them, and even beyond that, Justice League, because that's their big moment, at least to start off with things. Batman vs Superman is just a stepping stone to get to Justice League. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun to nitpick and criticize and things like that, but we honestly don't know until we see these big blockbuster um, story arcs coming to fruition.
But see, that's okay. This is gonna be my last major point. Um, the MCU is being constructed over the next at least 20 years. So we're gonna wait. What, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, to see the next Avengers movie, and in between there, we're gonna have at least 2 movies a year about characters that don't matter to the overall story, even though we're told they're going to. That's fine. Whatever. Like I said, I'm I'm gonna go see those movies, and I'm sure a lot of people will. But what we're getting, like, DC is doing the right thing. They're giving you, like was said at Comic Con, we're getting what we want. We want to see all these villains. We want to
Well,
see all
be
the heroes,
careful what
but
you
we're
ask
getting
for.
it.
Like you just said, Michael Bay gives us what we want, doesn't he?
He actually does, and I'm excited for that. And
Ah,
like,
no, I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
you know what? We're probably going to have another show where we talk specifically about Michael Bay and how he actually is secretly a genius and is doing really good
He's
at
a genius at making money, but a terrible
he
movie
is.
director. He's
He
a terrible, terrible movie director.
say it all you want to, but all I know is the Transformers movies are some of the most popular movies he's ever had. Anyway, excuse me for that. Um, I think that's going to be it for this week. Uh, Dany should be here next week. If she's not, I'm going to cry. And we can finally get to the cartoon conspiracy episode that's been held off for, what, 3 weeks now. Um, like I said, that's going to be it for this week. There should be more stuff coming soonish, probably. Keep an eye on the Facebook page. Remember to like that. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe to this video. And that's really it for me. Nick, is that it for you?
Goodbye, everyone. Oh, Excelsior!
You are such a fanboy. It's unreal.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye bye.